Everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Harmonious Engineering Let's Play series. Here in episode 8, basically haven't done a lot between episodes, just emptied out the excess creosote in here. That did fill up and back stuff. So what I did was I created, using the creosote oil, you can put it in a bucket, and then when you do that, you can combine it around 8 planks of any variety, and that will get you treated wood planks. Treated wood planks are used for a handful of different resources in this mod, including the storage crates that we've been utilizing here in our backpack to kind of make the terrible inventory situation a little bit less terrible. You can also turn it into the old industrial wood planks by washing it in and basically waterlogging them a little bit. And then there are a couple of other components, the accumulators, the scaffolding. There's a handful of different building blocks, and some of these building blocks will be required as we go. The logic units, which I don't think I've actually ever played with, ever, even off camera and off stream. And so a bunch of routers, a bunch of logistical items. You can kind of get the gist here, though. It's a pretty straightforward little item. But we've been getting ourselves a ton of steel, which is very good. We're at 26 now. I went ahead and cooked up some more iron because we're going to need quite a few hoppers for what we're going to work on today anyways. So why don't we just jump straight in? That recipe is not in. That's right. I forgot. So let's go ahead and make ourselves 4 more chests here. And we're going to need, I don't know why I made 4. We're actually going to need a lot more than that. We're going to need 9 hoppers. So we can borrow one from over here. And I think that might help us out quite a bit. So that's 7. We'll just need 2 more. And what I'm working on right now, what I'm working towards, is a crusher from Immersive Engineering. So the reason that I know we need 9 hoppers is not only from experience, but from our engineer's manual. So the engineer's manual, if you look in here, it tells you all about the latest updates and the change logs for the updates. It tells you about sort of the resources, various shader add-ons for your components, the alloys, the different resources, etc. Workbenches and furnaces, these are basically the things that we've already gotten into. Construction materials, the various power mechanics and wires and such. Tools, which we will get to. And then there are simple machines, and then there are heavy machines. So we are working on heavy machines, and what we're working on right now is the crusher. So if I take a look at the question mark, it will show me a checklist, essentially. So we're going to need 10 steel scaffolding. So we can go ahead and get some of our resources together now and start kind of getting towards that. So we need 10 steel scaffolding, and as soon as we get those, you'll see that check mark goes off. We're going to need 8 steel fence, and fortunately we've been getting these steel rods from Immersive Engineering crates, so that has made it a lot easier to do a lot of this crafting. And then we need a redstone engineering block and some light engineering block. Redstone or light. Here we go. So the redstone engineering block is going to require some sheet metal. That's going to require, yeah, that's not bad. And we're also going to need more sheet metal for the light engineering blocks. So for the light engineering blocks, we have a bunch of these iron mechanical components. I hear a wandering trader. Let's go see what you have for sale. If you have cactus, I'd like that. Hello. Underground bastion map and horn coral. Not particularly helpful. But if we take a look at these iron mechanical components, this is going to normally cost quite a bit unless you make it in the engineer's workbench, but we already have found these, so we're going to be able to save quite a bit here, because we are going to need 3 of this recipe, so that means we're going to need 12 mechanical components, and we're going to need 12 of the sheet metal. It looks like we're going to need 16 sheet metal in total, and we're doing pretty good on our steel, as mentioned, so that's exciting. I am very pleased. And then once we get that together, we can finally get into some ore processing. So we've been doing pretty low tier ore processing so far, and I did not mean to do that. So we'll do that and let these turn into plates. But yeah, our ore processing so far has been really low tier, really basic. So I do look forward to being able to improve that significantly. Because once we get our crusher put together, the crusher itself, if we take a look at, let's see, do this. The crusher itself will produce 1 dust for every 1 raw iron. Remember, everything else has been giving us nuggets, but it gives us 1 dust, and 1 dust can be turned directly into 1 ingot. So this will finally give us 1-to-1 recipe access, which is going to be very, very exciting. At least for me, because so far everything we've been doing has been really kind of grindy. To be honest, it's just felt really slow moving and very annoying. And that's sort of how the pack is designed early game, is to make you want to work on your vanilla skills a little bit. You know, use the vanilla mechanics like enchanting to get yourself a bit of a head start. So we'll get 3 recipes of this, and that gets us everything we need here. Now you'll notice in the manual here, we can actually flip this around and move it as much as we want, which is helpful if you need to visualize what a block is made out of. You can hit play here to play through the placement animation. So if you're not sure exactly what a block is, you can just let it play through and you can maybe see it a little easier. And if you toggle between this button here, which looks like it's stopped, but it kind of isn't, you can see the entire configured structure. And if you use the arrow buttons, you can actually iterate over the various layers of the structure. So if you're, again, not sure of what something is, you can just iterate over it, go to the first layer, go to the second layer, go to the third layer. Last thing you'll notice is that there is a red tinted block. That's not like a red fence, that's a standard fence, but anything that is tinted red like this is the block that you're going to need to activate with your hammer. So if you remember over here with our construction, no, where was it? Workbenches and furnaces, the coke oven structure is a 3x3, and then we hit the middle of that 3x3 face, and that's what formed our structure. That is exactly the same for this. So if we paused and went all the way to the formed version, you'll see that that's how you activate it, is by right-clicking on the center block of that face. So we're going to see sort of the same thing on the same mechanic, at least for this recipe. So that should hopefully kind of clear up any things that you're not certain about as far as configuring or constructing your machine. Because these machines are big, they're heavy duty, and they are sometimes confusing, so it's important to kind of have a vague understanding. Really quickly, before I get any further, I've been gathering a bunch of industrial hemp, and I mentioned last time that I wanted to use this to make the hempcrete, but there's something else that I want to use with it, and that is to make tough fabric, because 5 tough fabric can insulate your wire coils to keep you from getting zapped. Because believe it or not, you can get zapped by your wire coils as you pass by. So I'm going to do that really quickly just to make sure that we don't get zapped, and we can also use some of our treated sticks and our treated wood in combination with some stone bricks. Let's get maybe 6 of those to create some very, very, very cool wire posts. I think I will just do that. And thank you, Stonecutter, for making this a lot easier for us, because now I don't have to have four stone to make stone bricks. I can just do that. And if you take your treated wood fence and put them over top of stone bricks, you'll get wooden posts. So we can use wooden posts to help make our wiring look good and work pretty nicely as well. So I'm going to set up my crusher probably right around here. I know that this is in the path of everything else, but I want to give some space for other machines as well. So we'll set it up here. So looking back here, you can also, anytime you see this little thing on the side, you can start to type. And so we're going to help have Clippy's help here to pull up the crusher. And I'm going to start with level 0. And we'll go ahead and get these scaffolding put down. So it is 6 down here. And then like this. And then we have a whole bunch of light engineering blocks, like so. Then for the next layer, we'll have more light engineering blocks. We'll have over here another light engineering block and a redstone engineering block. You'll see what these are all for in just a moment. And then we have another one in the middle. And as mentioned, we'll have 8 fences around here. And then at the top layer, we'll just have our 9 hoppers. And they all need to be pointing straight down, so we'll just do that. And now we'll get our morphing tool out and right-click on this, and there we go. We have created ourselves a crusher. Now, if I took this crusher and I wanted to power it off for any reason, we can use that. If you noticed, we put that redstone engineering block in the center leftmost position of our multi-block. And what I mean by that is we put it right here, center leftmost. And what that translated to when we formed this large machine is that there's now a little red dot right where that redstone machine block is. So if I put a lever there, I can actually turn the machine on and off using the redstone control from that machine block that we created. So we can use that to our advantage if we need to. I think right now I'm just going to leave it off, but it is there. And as we look around this machine, there's a lot of different things, but the one that we're looking for anytime you build these machines are these sort of coppery, orangey looking blocks. These are your energy inputs. So we're going to put a connector there, and I'm going to start to run some wiring. So I'm going to put a wooden post down. You'll see it's pretty large, and I like my wooden posts to have the little arms on them personally. So I'm going to put a little arm on it, and this center block of the post can be climbed. So if you just jump up it, you can climb it. And then if I right click on this LV wire relay, I can start to link from this wire relay to this wire connector. And you can see that it's insulated. You can see it's nice and clear. If I were to use an uninsulated one, I said clear, it's nice and white like it's lined. If I were to use an uninsulated copper cable, it would be like a coppery orange color. So very important to keep in mind that component there. And what I'm going to do, we have our main wire coming from here. So what I can do is connect it as well. We'll go ahead and hit this like so. Right click this to start linking. And if I were to run with this link, you see the linking text is currently orange. If I ran away and it turns red, that means I'm too far away to connect. So you can use that to sort of figure out as you're starting to space these out if you are within range. So now that I've started the link, I can finish the link by right clicking here and then right clicking here. And now our link is connected. Our wires are connected all the way, and we come over here and you can see that we are producing some energy. Not a lot, mind you. This is not going to keep the machine running at all times, but that's okay. I don't need this to run at max efficiency 24/7. For me, if it can just process over time, I'm patient. I'm fine with leaving this world running off camera for a little bit while we process ores, for example. That's not a big deal to me. So now we can come over here. Take our iron, for example. That's the thing that we seem to be the most starved of, at least. So I'm going to use iron as my example. I'm also going to grab a decently sized barrel, probably, because we have a bunch of various slabs here. And if I get a, let's say an iron or a gold barrel, we can, we could do gold. Let's try this out, and then I'll show you exactly why I'm making this. I think that would actually be a pretty cool tie-in here. So right now, the machine is on because we haven't given this redstone power, and there is a way to invert this behavior. If you want redstone lever on means redstone energy, or means the machine runs, then you can use a screwdriver and right-click on this panel here to invert that behavior. I'm going to throw my raw gold in, and you'll see that it's going to start to crush. And we get 1 gold dust. That gold dust can now be taken over to our create smelting setup, which if you're following along, you might kind of start to get the gist of what I might do next. I can right click here to smelt this up automatically. Eventually. It's not the fastest, but it's free, so I can't complain. And now I've got the 8 that I need to get my barrel upgraded from a standard barrel to a gold barrel. Now, you notice that gold dust just spat out the front of the machine, right? That's not ideal. No one wants this stuff to despawn. So if you put a barrel right here instead, or any sort of inventory or chest, it will go into that instead. So that's why I opted for a large barrel, so that I can toss in a large quantity of iron, for example, and it will just run. Now, I do have bad news. As mentioned, this machine will run out of energy. You can see it already is. It's starting to slowly decrement the amount that we have in there. Our alternator is just not keeping up. And you know what? That's okay. That's a-okay, because what we can do is we can create another windmill and another alternator. Now that we have this starting to run, that just makes everything cheaper going forward. Now things won't be 3 times or at least 2.5 times more expensive to make iron. We can just do this going forward, and that makes things significantly easier. Of course, now that we have formed our crusher and we have gotten a dust, we can go ahead and claim our quest reward here. And what I'm going to do is quickly quiet this machine down a little bit. This machine is very loud because it's very big. So if I take my little, if I hit this little muffler key here, I can search crusher, and you'll see crusher : immersive. If I hit muffle, it'll turn the sound completely off. I don't mind the sound though, so I am going to turn it up some, just maybe leave it at 20%, for example. That way we can hear it. We still know if it's running or not. And if we want it to stop running, apply a lever to it. So if we wanted to, we could theoretically like have a buffer set up somewhere for energy to go and then only turn this machine on when the buffer is full or full enough. But it'll also run even if it's got insufficient energy. So if it runs out of energy, it'll just wait until the next batch of energy gets sent to it. Because right now, basically, we're going from DC, which is a constant current, to we're essentially going from DC to AC by running out of energy as much as we are. We're incidentally alternating the current. Now, I don't remember, maybe the manual will tell me exactly how much flux this uses to run. Because I would like to know if making another windmill and making another alternator might be worth it or not. I don't know. I would like to know because this wasn't very hard to do. So if I can make another one, that would make my life a lot easier. But I'm not really all that certain. So I will have to see if I can find that information either on the wiki or within the manual somewhere that I might be missing. But I'm going to go ahead and give our little pathway a little cutout for a couple of our new devices that we've been putting together here, because there's definitely a lot going on now in our little base area. And I'm really happy with how things are starting to look. I really like this sort of style we're going for here. I'll do that and maybe do like a couple of those just to make things look a little bit nicer. But you can see we are already getting a lot more materials for our investment, which is super exciting. Now, I don't believe that there's any way for us to see how far along this has gotten in processing, but I know that we tossed in quite a bit, so we'll just have to wait. But in the meantime, I do want to, I'm curious actually. Okay, so it goes from obsidian, okay. In the meantime, though, we can start to look into getting another windmill put together and another alternator. So I might go ahead and do that really quickly, especially since we're doing much better on resources, and I'll come back when that is done. All right, so once this clay finishes smelting up, our second windmill here can be finished with our full-on deployment here. So I ran out of connectors because this makes 4. It uses 1 in the alternator recipe. We have 2 alternators, so that's 2 of them. And then we had 1 on the top of the alternator over here and 1 on our machine. So we are completely tapped out, but that's not a big deal. And so now you might be noticing the slight issue here. I can't connect these 2 together because they are going to interfere with this block. What I can do, however, is there are a couple of options. And by the way, this placement is not ideal. It would be much better if I had it further away. What I can do, though, is I should be able to at least try. I don't know that this is going to work, but I can try connecting it to here instead. Let's see. Okay, so that's going to also get in the way. There is one other option we can do, which is to use a wire post. I think it's just called a wall post, actually. Wall mount. Here we go. These wall mounts are another pretty great option that we could go for. Unfortunately, we cannot rotate our wooden posts or use them, like have them at an L angle. You have to have them one way or another. So what I might do is I might just break this wooden post here and then slightly move it. That way it'll reach both. I think that might be the move, is just to have this one here like so, and then we'll have this here. And what I'll do is we'll have you connected to a wire relay here, and you connected to that same wire relay, and then connect this wire relay over to here. And because there's the space between the 2, we have to connect it, right? Well, I'm not gonna come up here and touch this usually, so I'm gonna use an unshielded wire to fill that gap. I could get electrocuted if I walked into it. As you can see, it jolts you back. But now we're producing 180 flux per tick in all of that going straight into our crusher. So let's see if we can now process ores at least a little bit faster. We should be able to, right? So let's take some more iron, go ahead and get all of it processed up because, again, iron is like the #1 commodity / resource used in this pack. So let's go ahead and take all of this and toss it in and see if we can keep up. So far, so good. at least so far as I can tell. The easiest way to tell is to come look at the alternator directly, and it looks like, yeah, this one is empty, right? But this one is full. So that tells us that our machine over there uses just over 90 flux energy per tick, or forge energy per tick. So we're using slightly over 90 FE here on this machine. And you know what? Let me quickly look it up and see if we can get an exact number on that. Immersive engineering crusher FE per tick. So the immersive engineering crusher uses 80 RF per tick. That makes sense because what we're running into is a slight degradation of our energy because of how far away we're having to transfer it. So the reason we're filling up on this one is because we're not losing 80, we're losing a little bit less than, we're not losing more than 10 flux, but we're losing like maybe 11 flux. So this one's just barely draining, but it's able to keep up. But we're losing, I'm guessing probably close to 11 flux or FE just in the inefficiencies of these wires, because these wires aren't perfect wiring like this, where it's not really like, there are better pipes and energy cables and stuff in this pack. These are not the best ones, so I can kind of see where it's coming from, where the issue might lie. But now we have a significant excess of energy that we can use for other machines and other components. So we, I think, are doing really well for ourselves so far. We have gotten a good bit of cooked up already. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit more. And before we log off for this episode, there is one structure or one item that I'd like to make. We're using a whole lot of our buckets and a lot of manual crafting to consolidate all that creosote into treated wood, but there is another thing that we can do, and that is to store it in a jerry can. So a jerry can is like the thing that you refill your gas, like if you have like a little gas canister that you bring around with you. This is one of those. That's all it is. And so this guy will hold 10 buckets in one. And so combining the 4 empty buckets we found in dungeons and then adding to it some iron plates, we can now store 10 buckets of creosote oil. And that makes it way easier to craft our treated wood rather, out of the creosote, because now we can just do it all at once. We don't have to keep on shifting out the empty buckets and replacing them with filled buckets. So that makes it a lot easier to make treated wood. So I think I'm going to call the episode there. I think we've gotten so much done so far with our whole age of electricity so far. And, you know, I think one of the things that I'll probably be prioritizing for between episodes is putting together some more water wheels so that I can move this cooking setup a lot closer to our home, because it is pretty far away as it stands. And as you can tell, I don't really have anything protecting our machines out here. So we might be time to build up a little factory, I'm thinking. I'm not sure, but I'm feeling like we're gonna need a factory here soon. So we'll probably put that together sometime soon as well, and get ourselves together a nice big factory, maybe up here on the hill or something. You know, I'm thinking probably closer to probably one of the bigger structures that I've built in a long time. But something kind of like what we built in Enigmatica 6 using some concrete blocks or something. I'm not really sure yet. But I do want to play around with it. Again, hempcrete is also a great option. And we can use slag to make concrete, which is another great block. There is not vanilla concrete, but yes, vanilla concrete. But there is also concrete from Immersive, which will use, I thought it used slag. I guess it doesn't use slag. Okay. Interesting. Well, there is slag gravel. Ah, I see now. Okay, well that's cool. So yeah, we can make concrete. Probably would not be a bad idea to make concrete at some point, just because it is also another fun block, but I definitely think hempcrete is going to be where we invest a lot of our resources in. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!